And then another writer asked, since they have mastered our language, why don't they refer to themselves as North American bipedal primates, or even with names like Fred or Susan? He says, I'm curious if they speak any other languages besides English.
Well, they've been monitoring us for years.
Right.
Those that are down in Texas and that area also occasionally use Mexican names or Spanish names.
Right.
They do this and even name their own children, after their own. They have their own language,
right?
So they understand English because they've been around us enough. And when they say, we are the Bigfoot people, it's because that's the only thing I understood,
right?
And they knew that. I had a person, a researcher from California, visiting me in '85, and I was explaining to him about what I was experiencing, and I was still processing it. And I still continue to process new information and try to figure out, where it belongs in all this. And when I told him different things about what the Sasquatch did, his reply was, that isn't what the Sasquatch do. The Sasquatch don't do that. And I said, how do you know? How many experiences have you had with the Sasquatch? And he hesitated, and he says, well, none. And I said, and you're going from, campground to campground. That's where you go. You're on vacation right now, and you stop and visit other researchers, and you go to campgrounds, and you wonder why you're not having any experiences. So, the guy was a nice person and everything, but he was telling me, no, the Sasquatch don't act that way. Well, that's only based on what's been passed down by the historians. And I mean that most Bigfoot researchers who have not experienced them at all are really historians, just passing on information from what other people have experienced. Now that I'm passing on the real information, people are saying, no, wait a minute, that isn't what it's about. John Green wrote about this, Grover Krantz about that, and Renee DeHinden about something else, that are all, about killing this animal. Well, the reason we don't have proof is because all these people have been looking for an animal, a monster that does not exist. It just doesn't exist. They are an evolved nature people that have access to other dimensions and that understand how the application of quantum physics works without not understanding classroom physics. So it's just something that's a part of them, and that they teach their young how to utilize this in order to survive. So it's really nothing new. They just have to stop having this neurotic block about psychic phenomena. Why? Because mainstream science is dysfunctional. It is in a way that it starts to tell people like me that it doesn't exist. My research is no good. When it's tops, my research is tops. Why? Because I'm objectively telling the truth based on 150 other people who have objectified my reality after 28 years of experiencing the Psychic Sasquatch. So I'm being persecuted for telling the objective truth. I'm not concerned anymore. Yes, I'm still want to put out that energy and educate the public on it, but those people who are stuck, who are researchers who are stuck, wouldn't know what to do. They'd be scared out of their wits having psychic experience from a Sasquatch or ET. So they've got to get over their fears and get out in the field and go by themselves, no guns or anything, and make themselves vulnerable in order to experience these nature people.
Right. Now, Kewaunee, you've had at least 7 actual physical sightings.
That's right, yeah.
If I'm correct. And do you give equal weight to the telepathic contacts as you do to the physical sightings?
Well, why not? It's a contact. You mean to tell me that if you saw let's just say this, that you saw a movie actor and in the physical walk by you, and then later on you ran into them again and said, "Here, call me if you can." Give them your business card, and the next day that movie star called you up, and you're talking to him or her. Would you say, "Well, no, I really didn't have contact with with him or her"? Well, of course you did. It was on the phone. It wasn't right there in person like initially, but it still certainly was a contact. I mean, how could you discredit anyone from talking to someone on the phone and saying that's not a real person, or they didn't do it because they weren't in person? So they were there, and often I can see through them. You see all their features in their body, the pupils of their eyes and everything, but you don't see them completely. And sometimes I only see an outline of them, and sometimes I don't see them at all, but they're talking away. And that's okay. It's still a contact.
Right. Now, as far as the invisibility and other dimensions go, when they're in an invisible state, and I want to ask you how they achieve that, and also are they still physically present even though you don't see them? I mean, obviously, if they're throwing rocks, they can interact with physical reality, but are they able to see? Because someone had written in saying that they thought that let's see, Ray G says, according to the laws of physics as presently understood, a perfectly invisible person would necessarily be blind no matter how their invisibility were achieved. In order to see light, it must be absorbed by the retina. But in order for a person to be invisible, the body must not absorb light. So how is Bigfoot able to see in his invisible state?
Well, I can't answer that. He's making a statement from present known physics.
Right.
So in terms of their invisibility, I mean, I wouldn't know. They haven't taught me that. They haven't discussed that at all. When I brought it up, they don't discuss it. That's why, because that's a part of their survival mechanism. But I'll say this. In 2005, down in Oregon, for the first time after all these years, I saw one night 2 of them, and 2 nights later 1. The first night it was about 100. They were about 125 feet away. I mean, I could probably count these beyond the 7, but I've not counted these. I could see their outline in their glowing eyes. It's the first time I've ever seen red glowing eyes. And 2 nights later came to within about 60 feet of me, and he had red glowing eyes. So I haven't counted those as physical encounters, but some people may and may not. I don't know. I don't. I'd rather have something more solid than that. But
right.
But alas, I had 2 witnesses the first night, and I was by myself 2 nights later. So what has happened is that I believe that they are peeking in from another dimension when their eyes start to glow.
Right.
In other words, some people saw them completely physical, and then their eyes started to glow once they noticed them. And my feeling is possibly, just possibly, that they were getting nervous and therefore wanted to think of getting ready to go into another dimension, and their eyes start to glow.
Right.
Now, you may say, well, what gives me that idea? Well, there's a situation out in Rome, Ohio, back in 1980 and 81, where this farm was besieged by spaceships landing and Sasquatch walking around all over the place. Mm-hmm. So the guy got up on his roof. He was an ex-Vietnam vet, and he, with his rifle, knocked one down from the edge of the woods. 2 came out and helped the other one up. And after they went into the woods, that's when they started seeing the red glowing eyes, and they shot a couple boxes of bullets at them. Mm-hmm. And the next day, there were just a lot of dead trees out there. Didn't even touch them. They were aiming right between the eyes. And that was because